Good afternoon, everyone. This is Dominic, Walter, and Hector. The title for our project will be Preemptive versus Non-Preemptive Kernels. What is a preemptive kernel? On a preemptive kernel, a process running in kernel mode can be replaced by another process while in the middle of a kernel function. The main motivation for making a kernel preemptive is to reduce the dispatch latency of the user mode processes. The kernel can be preemptive only when it's executing an exception handler in a particular system call, and the kernel preemption has not been explicitly disabled. ISR, Interrupt Service Routine. Interrupt Handler, also known as an Interrupt Service Routine or ISR, is a special block of code associated with a specific interrupt condition. Interrupt handlers are initiated by hardware interrupts, software interrupt instructions, or software exceptions, and are used for implementing device drivers or transitions between protected modes of operation, such as system calls. Interrupt handlers have a multitude of functions which vary based on what triggered the interrupt and the speed at which the interrupt handler completes its task. It handles the request and sends it to the CPU, interrupting the active process. When the ISR is complete, the process is resumed, and we're going to be seeing that within the next set of diagrams. Preemptive kernel diagram. The highest priority task ready to run is always given control of the CPU. When a task makes a higher priority task ready to run, the current task is preemptive, suspended, and the higher priority task is immediately given control of the CPU. If an ISR makes a higher priority task ready, when the ISR complete, the interrupted task is suspended and the new higher priority task is resumed. So let's take a look at this diagram right here. Looking at this diagram, imagine a line going across horizontally right here where the processes are running is the CPU. So currently process A, which has a low priority, is running on the CPU. And process A gets interrupted by process B trying to use the CPU. So the ISR looks into process B and it notices that it's a higher priority. So process B has a higher priority, so process A must get swapped. So as you can take a look right here in the circle, process A gets stored in memory. And as soon as process B, which is right here at the bottom, is done using the CPU, process A gets brought back into the CPU for it can finish where it left off. So as you can see, process A is right here, follow back, it goes back into the CPU, and process A finishes what it has to do. Now we are going to be looking at another diagram. We are still in a preemptive kernel, and we're going to switch things around. Let's say process A, which you can see right here, has a high priority, and then again process A gets interrupted by process B trying to use the CPU. The ISR noticed that process B has a low priority, so process B cannot jump in and be swapped because process A has a higher priority. So as you can see, it gets stopped right there. Process A continues doing its own thing. So once process A is done, that's when process B can now get into the CPU. This only happens in primitive kernels. Feature in Windows that you can actually stop process using the task manager. So let's say Google Chrome has many tabs open, has a bunch of websites running Adobe Flash, and it freezes the browser. You don't know how long it will take for the browser to finish a certain process running in the background. Good thing we have a preemptive operating system such as Windows and Mac that will help us with this problem using our friend, the Task Manager. As you can see, we're here and using Google Chrome, and we have a bunch of tabs open. We got Yahoo, Amazon, eBay, Netflix, and we're doing a bunch of multitasking work in Google Chrome. And let's say one of these tabs freezes. You're trying to exit out right here, you're trying to click X, it doesn't want to exit out for some unknown reason. The only way to actually shut down the program is by using our friend Task Manager. So we're going to right click the taskbar, we're going to click Start Task Manager, and from there you're going to see a list of processes that are running in the background. From there you can actually close each individual Chrome process that is running if it unfreezes. So right now I just kill one of the tabs, which was the Amazon tab. That's why you saw the screen flash. And to kill all processes at once, I'll rather just go to the applications, click on Google Chrome, and I'll click End Task. And from there, as you can see, Google Chrome actually shut down. So that's how you use the Task Manager. Now let's talk about non-preemptive kernels. A non-preemptive kernel requires a process to give up the control of the CPU. In simple terms, it means that the process is hogging all of the CPU and no other process can interrupt it until either the process is finished or voluntarily hands it over. A non-preemptive kernel is essentially free from race conditions on kernel data structures, as only one process is active in the kernel at a time. Examples of non-primitive kernels systems were back in the early days of Windows 3.1 and MS-DOS. So when process A is running on the CPU and process B, with a higher priority, wants to get into the CPU, it goes through the ISR. The ISR won't let process B a chance due to the fact that this is a non-preemptive kernel. It won't matter if process B is a super small process that will take less time than process A, or if it has a higher priority, the ISR won't let it go through. All process B can do is just wait its turn.
Okay, thank you processors for coming to Club CPU, the hottest club in town. I am the preemptive kernel. I'll be deciding who gets to go in or out. Unfortunately, due to our size capacity of the club, we could only have one process in at a time. So if you could all have your IDs ready, then we could get the night started. Alright, process A. The club is currently empty. No one's inside. You're free to go inside. Thank you. Process B, you're gonna have to wait until process A is done with the club. He has the club out to himself right now, so just give him a moment, okay? Well, where do you think you're going? Club. VIP. High priority. VIP, very important process. Oh, my bad, I didn't know. Go ahead, process A, you'll come back up, sir. Sorry about that, but you can wait in the beginning of the line. Sorry about that. Go ahead, process C. Sorry to keep you waiting.
Hello processors, welcome to Club CPU, Night 2. I am the non-preemptive kernel and I'll be deciding who gets to go in or out. Same rules as yesterday. I can only allow one process in at the club at a time. So if you can all wait, line up in the queue with your IDs ready.
Hey, what are you doing? I'm trying to get into Club CPU. What's the matter?
This is a non-preemptive kernel. I can allow you to go inside Club CPU because there's currently a process already in there. You have to wait until you get your turn.
Yeah, but preempt let me in yesterday. What's going on?
With non-preemptive, it doesn't matter the priority you have, whether low or high. So you have to wait for the process B to finish.
Alright.
Alright, I'm done. Thanks for a good time.
No problem. Process C, you may now. Thanks for the club.
Thanks.